listening to Ocala Live, WOCA, The Source, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, 10 minutes before the top of the 9 o'clock hour, rolling through this Wednesday, hump day, as we're making our way through, like we said. Up next, as we have on the phone, Eric Castro, the co-founder of Bankers Health Care Group. As we mentioned, with everything going on, COVID-19, businesses of all sizes are working hard to survive amidst the global pandemic and the economic crisis. However, there's a silver lining. Now is a great time, well, to examine company culture, people's ability to adapt, stay focused, perform. And while the landscape might feel challenging, there's a fresh perspective that could come away from it. And with that, we have Mr. Eric Castro, like we said, co-founder of Bankers Healthcare Group, to talk a little bit more about it. Good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
Morning, Adam. I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing very well, very well. And I think this is an interesting topic because as we've come out of what has been everything with the stay-at-home orders, the shutdowns, and everything else, as we're trying to get back to some normalcy, it's still very tumultuous. There's still a lot going on of uncertainty that it means for a lot of small business and everything else. But you say there's a little silver lining here.
Oh, I definitely do, Adam. I think it's important for everybody to understand, and I don't think it's anything new, but you've heard the old saying that in any in any type of crisis, there's a seed of greater or equal opportunity. And I think when you kind of talk about the idea of a silver lining, there's so many. I would be here for a lot longer than I have in order to kind of give you a breakdown. But I think it really comes down to just your overall mindset and the idea of being able to kind of look at the positive in this particular situation, but at the same time, being practical and realistic about the reality of things.
Right. And I was going to mention to you, sir, right away, as the co-founder of a company that has survived many economic challenges, over the years, I was going to ask you to tell us a little bit about that and how it's prepared you for what happened and what is going on in lieu of the current pandemic.
Yeah, great question, Adam. I think the first thing most people don't realize is that Bankers Healthcare Group was originally established in the crisis in 2001 during the 9/11 crisis. That's when Bankers Healthcare Group got started almost 20 years ago. And then we also went through the 2007, 2008, and 2009 crisis, the Great Depression. And not only did we get through it, but we grew in both particular situations. And then in this particular crisis, we find that there's a lot of common denominators that we've learned, like you mentioned, Adam, along the way. And I think that, there's a handful of them that I'll try to share with you. But the number one is really just to be able to kind of create that mindset, not just during the crisis, but also before the crisis. And so making sure that you embrace kind of like a level of uncertainty, really understanding that you really got to understand that you're getting into a situation that there's a lot of uncertainty. And so having that mindset is important and really understanding what that means. I think it's also important to stay paranoid. Not necessarily in a negative way, but in a positive way.
Sure.
What we say here at Bankers Healthcare Group is to stay frosty.
Yeah, I like that. I used to say that term a little bit, and that comes from I think playing back in the day some Call of Duty and stuff like that. That's where it comes from a little bit.
Yeah. When I was I learned it in the Marine Corps. So yeah, it's a great word, and
there you go.
Appropriate.
Now, with that being said, for business owners, I was going to say, what advice can you give them about how they can evaluate, so to speak, their culture's resiliency or maybe their ability to adapt? What kind of advice can you give?
Well, I think I'll just give you a few tidbits. Number one, you got to be present. You got to be in the moment, because if you're kind of thinking about tomorrow, you're not focused on today, you're not going to be able to see the opportunity or the threat one way or the other when it comes to evaluating your culture, just alone your individuals. Ask questions, evaluate your people. Make sure that you're listening. Because a lot of people just talk, but they don't listen. So listen. And the other thing, too, is making sure that you really appreciate one way or the other whether you're effective or whether you're ineffective. And I think that that's a great way to evaluate, this type of process, because, how is your culture reacting to this type of crisis? Is it stepping up, or is it really not doing anything, or is it just focused on the problem? So it's a great opportunity not just to evaluate your culture, but actually improve it in a variety of different ways.
Gotcha. Now, here's the other thing that's brought up is the idea of investing in new talent. So why is investing in new talent and instilling, say, hope and an essential tool, at changing, say, company culture?
Yeah, I think it's important during this time, because if you're not injecting new blood you're not enabling the business or the culture to grow and evolve. Staying static in a business today is like a death sentence. And the other thing I think is important is to really maintain a certain level of hope when it comes to this, because I think that you can actually appreciate the fact that there's 40 almost million Americans out there that aren't employed. And trust me, there's a tremendous amount of talent. And if you're in a situation where you don't think that you can find value in that talent pool, you're mistaken. And so there's a great opportunity to go out there and evaluate not only your current staff to make sure that they're effective or ineffective, but going out there and really establishing an opportunity with some of these other folks that are extremely talented that will take your company potentially to the next level.
Gotcha. How would you define effective and ineffective?
Well, I think you got to keep it simple like that because you can get fuzzy any other way. So fundamentally, if you were trying to cross the bridge, were you able to get on the other side, and were you able to hit the parameters that were set, whether it was a timing or whether it was a KPI? And I think just have you been able to get across the street? And if you have, did you do it in the way that you thought you could do it, or did you just destroy whatever was behind you in a negative way? And so I think that it really depends on you, but I think that you have to create a clear understanding of what that is. It has to be black or white. Either effective or you're not. Did you lose the 10 pounds or didn't you? And again, I'm not telling you to judge yourself. I'm just telling you to be realistic, and that's a good way to kind of look at whether you're effective or ineffective.
I like that. In a way, like you said, realistic to the identity of what you would define as actually, getting something done, and like you said, not leaving a whole lot of gray area there. Is it black, it's white. This was the task at hand. Did it get accomplished? And then even if it's not, you can maybe see where a lot of some of the other stuff in between, maybe the character and resilience that it took to come very, very close to the goal was enough to say that that's achievable or that's considered effective. But like you said, it's more of like, did we get the task at hand done or didn't we? And then from there, you adjust, you adapt to what's necessary to get that done.
Yeah, and I think it's right on point. I think that that's what's great about really having that understanding, because if you weren't effective for whatever reason, like you're referring to, going back, doing a post-mortem on exactly what we did or didn't do, to kind of whether we kind of didn't have the right expectations or whether we just didn't put enough time into it, either way, it's a learning opportunity. And I think that when we do fail, always remember to fail forward.
Yeah. I like that. Now, as we got just a little bit of time left, partner, where can listeners go for more information?
Well, I guess if you try to track down me, I would go to my LinkedIn page at Eric Castro, and then the other place I would go to, especially if you're looking for some support when it comes to capital and what have you, is Bankers Healthcare Group. It's a great place to go. .com, bankershealthcaregroup.com. bankershealthcaregroup.com. Excellent partner. So Eric Castro co-founded the Bankers Healthcare Group with a deep passion for effective leadership and execution. And by the way, like mentioned, partner, thank you for your service, a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, as you quickly learned the importance of a strong leadership and the guide to, motivate a group, that's for sure, towards significant accomplishments, as Eric has leveraged his experience and his knowledge to do just that and to bring you some of that advice, like we mentioned, bankershealthcaregroup.com. Well, excellent, partner. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate that. And what a time to hear it, too, going through, like I said, another tumultuous part of the year, so to speak, to get ourselves to the other side of this, right? Yeah, 100%, Adam. Stay positive. I think it's important. If not, life becomes a little bit challenging. So make life a friend rather than an enemy. Thanks, Adam.
Excellent. Thank you, partner. You guys have a good rest of the week. WOCA, The Source, WOCA Ocala. More to come. Back after this.
Doesn't go far enough.
They want to ban chokeholds, make it easier to sue police officers, and end no-knock warrants in drug cases. The Republican bill uses incentives